the technical session 1 will be chaired by Ms. Anita Devraj, former school principal, DAV and member, Academic Advisory Council and Board of Management, BOSSE. We have Dr. Kuldeep Agarwal, Chairman, Board of Open Schooling and Skill Education, Sikkim, as the speaker on the topic Philosophy of NEP 2020, and Ms. Nidhi Kapoor, Academic Officer, BOSSE, Sikkim, as the speaker on the topic Recommendations of NCF 2023, Implications for School Education Boards.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry, can I speak in Hindi also? मेरा भाषा है ना, and English also I can speak. थोड़ा बहुत मैं बोल लेती हूँ English में भी, but I'll mix it up. Okay, so namaskar everyone over here, and you're all back after having a good lunch. I'm very sure about it, but some of you are missing from here. That means they had far too good a lunch. They found it more tastier than us. So in any case, but all those who are here, I'm thankful to you that you are over here to listen to Dr. Kuldeep Agarwal and Nidhi over here. They are very good speakers. And I was just thinking how to start off actually. You know, when I heard Mr. Upadhyay speaking over here, I was just actually wondering, NEP to bahut acha hai, it's very good. But I was just wondering, how will you carry NEP across to the students? And he spoke the language which I was thinking also. And I appreciate the fact that he was able to speak. He was able to convey so much more information about education in the schools also. But I'm very happy that he deserved a standing ovation when he said that he was the person who introduced BOSSE to Sikkim. And let me tell you one thing. First and foremost, I must congratulate Himanji and Kuldeepji and his team of young girls over here that they started this board in 2021? 20. Okay, yes, 20. And aaj 23 hai. And within this small period of time, they were able to do a lot of work. In fact, being a member of the board over here, let me tell you also one thing. Day and night, these people have worked. The entire team of BOSSE have worked very hard, and they received immense cooperation from Hemanji also, which is very good. अगर ऊपर बैठा हुआ शख्स आपकी मदद करता रहे, तो you can do anything. That I am very sure of it. And they were able to do it. और सबसे अच्छी बात ये है कि they were able to hold a conference of such a vast level over here, which other boards, I don't know about the other boards, but I have been a member of the Haryana board also, and for a very long period of time, and I was member of NCRT also, and I was just wondering how many people have really done a conference in such a short span of time. So I think we must give a big round of clap to these people. They deserve it. They deserve it. And I'm very proud to be a member of their advisory council also and a board of management also. So talking about education, you know, like any NEP ko andar kaise hum karenge, the philosophy, Dr. Agarwal will speak to you about it, and Nidhi will also add something more to it also. But I was just wondering, you know, how will you carry it across? Because hamara teachers, as he very rightly pointed out, Upadhyay Sahab, that teachers don't remain. They do their B.Ed, and they become, because very funny. I mean, if you really have thought about it, कि जितने भी, I am very happy to see so many young men. I do not know तो आप लोगों का background क्या है. I really don't know. But one thing is definitely there. The boys don't like to continue with being a teacher because marriage market में teacher का कोई value नहीं है. You know, a clerk has a better value. Teacher master जी है, मेरा पति master जी है, is too much. So they don't want to be there, and they want to be clerks. And secondly, टीचर्स जो लेडी टीचर्स आती हैं उनके पास बहुत सारे काम होते हैं सुबह से लेकर शाम तक. स्कूल, पहले तो स्कूल के अंदर भी उनका दिमाग घर में ही रहता है, थिंकिंग अबाउट कि बच्चे क्या कर रहे हैं, पता नहीं मेड आई है, अगर दे आर बेटर ऑफ, मेड आई है नहीं आई है, क्या काम करना पड़ेगा. तो दे आर कॉन्स्टेंटली थिंकिंग अबाउट इट. डू यू रियली थिंक दे विल हैव टाइम टू थिंक अबाउट such important things as what has been written over here? Like Dr. Agarwal has presented a paper out here. He has given it to me and he is going to speak on something different. He says philosophical approach to the education part of it. And he says following are the important philosophical approaches which should be taken into account. Aligned with the aspirational goals of 21st century education, instilling knowledge and learning how to learn. मुझे याद है, it's very important. I tell you, frankly speaking, I went to a public school. Like Upadhyay Sahib pointed out, that Acha school. So we came from UP. I didn't come from UP, I was born here only. But my parents came from UP and they did not want us to go to a government school or to a Hindi medium school. They sent us to a school which was run by English people. It was not an English medium school, it was run by the English people over there. And that was very famously known as Presentation Convent in Delhi. And very good school. And we learned English. And we really learned English very well. I did history in class 6th, 7th and 8th. That is ancient, medieval and modern. आप भी जानते ऐसे पढ़ते होंगे ना आप भी. Then I went to school, when 9th, 10th, 11th, क्योंकि हमारे ज़माने में +2 नहीं था, हमारे ज़माने में सीनियर कैम्ब्रिज ही था और 11th तक चलता था. 9th, 10th, 11th, again ancient, medieval, modern. Then I went on to choose history as my graduation subject. That was again ancient, medieval and modern. Then I did MA, ancient, medieval and modern. So history became so clogged in my mind that I thought that really. But then after, all this, when I came to college, because it was an English school, so they always said that the Britishers have done so much good for us people over here. हम poor Indians के साथ हम क्या थे, हमें कुछ भी तो नहीं आता था. हम लोग तो सपेरे थे और हाथियों पे घूमते थे बैठ के. I don't know. I haven't seen anyone sitting on the hathi and घूमोing, I don't know how they did it. In any case, so it was like this. And when I came to college, and one of my teachers, who happened to be my sister-in-law of our Delhi Chief Minister, Sheila Dikshit की sister-in-law थी वो. I've forgotten her name. But I will remember. Dikshit नाम था उनका भी. तो प्रभा दीक्षित, सॉरी. एंड शी आस्क्ड, तुमने स्कूल के अंदर ब्रिटिश हिस्ट्री के बारे में क्या पढ़ा? एंड वी ऑल रेज्ड आवर हैंड बिकॉज वी ऑल केम फ्रॉम वन ऑफ दो स्कूल्स ओनली. एंड वेरी क्लियर वी सेड, oh, they have done so good for us, we didn't know anything about education. उन्होंने हमको पढ़ाया, उन्होंने हमको रेलवेज भी दे दी, उन्होंने टेलीग्राफ भी दे दिया, उन्होंने दुनिया भर की चीज़ें हमको दे दी और हमको इंसान बना दिया. एंड शी वॉज सो फ्यूरियस विद अस, सो फ्यूरियस. शी सेड, व्हाट रबिश, क्या पढ़ के आते हो? Next time you dare say these words. Then she taught us what actually history was. But then, unfortunately, हमारी जितनी भी history है, they have been written by a set of people who were educated during those times. They learnt history from those people. और आज भी जो किताबें लिखते हैं वो भी यही सब कुछ लिखते हैं. अब हमारे बॉसे के अंदर किताबें लिखी जा रही हैं, and by with what, पता नहीं कौन सा, आई थिंक कितना इन लोगों में एनर्जी है कि दे डू इट. एंड दे मेक अस ऑल्सो वर्क, सम ऑफ द मेंबर्स सिटिंग आउट हियर, दे मेक अस ऑल्सो वर्क वेरी हार्ड. तो वी सैट डाउन टू राइट एंड वी आस्क्ड पीपल टू राइट लेसन्स फॉर द बोर्ड. एंड दे केम आउट अगेन विद दैट सेम आइडिया. वही पुराना बातें सारी लिख के दे दी हमने कि अंग्रेज़ कितने अच्छे थे, हम कितने बेकार थे. वी ऑल्सो लर्न कि हमारा एंशिएंट इंडियन हिस्ट्री के अंदर तो कुछ था ही नहीं. Whereas ancient India के बारे में अगर आप पढ़ें तो you'll be surprised. In fact, one of the members over here spoke about Sanskrit, and I tell you one thing. In my school, we did everything in English. हम हिंदी में बोल ही नहीं पाते थे. Result क्या हुआ? That one day I very proudly told somebody, I can't speak in Hindi at all. It's not. And कुछ बात नहीं हुआ, अंदर आ गए, घर आ गए. जब घर आके तो वो जो डांट पड़ी मेरा मम्मी से और दादी से कि how stupid can you get? It's your mother tongue. And he was saying, I don't know Hindi. What is all this bakwas? And you dare not say this word ever in future. And we learnt a lesson. Okay, so we started speaking Hindi. And Hindi is one of the, and I tell you one thing, I really started loving Hindi. Because earlier I used to read English novels, but then I started reading Hindi. And started with Vayam Rakshame, which was written by Acharya Chatursen. Has anyone read it? Has anyone read it? Oh, please do. Please do. Acharya Chatursen की पढ़िए आप. Vyam Raksha में. It's a beautiful novel which he has written, and it's all about Ravan. He's from right from his birth, जब से वो पैदा हुआ और जब तक वो मरा नहीं तब तक उन्होंने लिखा. And I tell you, it's fantastic. You must read it. And I fell in love with Hindi. और आज अब मैं इंग्लिश की नॉवेल्स नहीं पढ़ पाती हूँ. I can't read it because मुझे लगता है इसमें कुछ है ही नहीं. क्या पढ़ूँ मैं इसको? एंड देन आई स्टार्टेड रीडिंग हिंदी नॉवेल्स. आई रेड अबाउट संस्कृत एंड मेरे को लगा संस्कृत में हम जब पढ़ते थे तो हमें बोला जाता था संस्कृत सिर्फ इतना पढ़ लो कि तुम्हारे को पास हो जाओ. और हमारे पास का मायने ये होता था कि 0 से ऊपर हो जाओ. ये 2-3 नंबर मिल जाए तो निकल जाओगे तुम लोग. तो हम यही करते थे. और अगर हमें बस एक ही लता लकार आती थी विच वी राइट, और अगर नहीं बोल पाते थे खूब पिटाई होती थी यहाँ पे सो वे हियर. पब्लिक स्कूल्स डोंट स्लैप यू, दे हिट यू हियर विद अ फुट्टा. वो भी धीमा धीमा टप टप, 2 ओनली. सो वी गॉट 2 टप टप्स एंड वी वर हैप्पी विद दैट टप टप बिकॉज इट डिडंट hurt us. But then when later on, when I was about 60 years old and I realized, oh my God, because that's the first time I got introduced to Upanishad, not 60 years old, 50 years old, Upanishad. And I read, what was it, this, नचिकेता की किताब क्या थी मानवेंद्र? नचिकेता वाली उपनिषद, Kathopanishad, that's the book. Kathopanishad. And it was a beautiful story written about a small boy, Nachiketa, and about his parents. And when he goes to meet Yama तो Yama के पास जाते हैं because his father had given him to Yama. So, and I was telling, and Yama के पास जाते हैं, Yama होते नहीं हैं और चित्रगुप्त वहाँ पे होते हैं. तो चित्रगुप्त कहते हैं कि भाई तुम अंदर नहीं आओगे, तुम वहाँ बाहर बैठो, जब तक यम नहीं आ जाएंगे तब तक आप अंदर नहीं आएंगे. And when Yam came back after 3 days, चित्रगुप्त said कि there is somebody to meet you. He says where? He says वो बाहर. He says बाहर क्या कर रहे हैं, तुमने अंदर क्यों नहीं बिठाया इनको? He says नहीं, no, I can't, मेरे को अलाउड नहीं है. यहाँ पे वही लोग आएंगे जो लोग प्रस्थान कर गए हैं, यहाँ पे तो वो नहीं आएगा, वो बाहर ही बैठेगा, उसका नाम यहाँ पे नहीं मेरे पास है लिस्ट में. तो he said you also go and meet him outside. तो Yama went outside and then talked and वो दुनिया भर की उसमें beautiful story. And I decided to tell this to my nieces. And they were so impressed by this. And बुआ और बोलो ना, और क्या हुआ फिर, क्या हुआ? I said अब तुम अपने आप ढूंढ लो. हम कैसे ढूंढ ले? Because there were 3 questions he asked. He says one question was कि मरने के बाद क्या होता है? What happened after life, after death? And he couldn't. And they asked me. He says बुआ बताओ ना, death को क्या बोला फिर? क्या बोला यम ने? So I said no, I can't tell you. You will have to read it yourself. He says हम कैसे पता करेंगे? I said go and read that book. So they sat down and they found this thing so good. They said oh my God, you have introduced us to something beautiful. But that is how it has. हमारा जो ये जो एजुकेशन है, सिस्टम जो NEP है, यही तो वो कह रहा है कि अपने जो आपने किया है उसके बारे में तो बताओ लोगों को. उनको पता ही नहीं है, कोई बताने वाला है. हमको किसी ने बताया होता तो हम बहुत पहले से पढ़ना शुरू कर देते. हमने तो ट्रायल एंड एरर के अंदर ही सीख लिया. लेकिन हर किसी के पास तो ये मौका नहीं होता है ना. एज उपाध्याय जी very rightly pointed out, I tell you, he pointed out the basic defects which are there in education system. क्या होता है, जो अच्छे लोग होते हैं वो तो चले जाते हैं कहीं और जो जिनको कहीं और नहीं जा पाते हैं या कहीं और जाना नहीं चाहते हैं, वो लोग वहाँ पढ़ा रहे हैं. वो क्या पढ़ाएंगे? they don't know. किसी के पास लाइब्रेरीज भी अवेलेबल नहीं है, किसी के पास इतना पैसा भी नहीं है कि वो किताबें खरीद के अपने बच्चों को दे दे. तो क्या करेगा वो? तो NEP जो है बहुत चीज़ें बातें बहुत कर रहा है. एंड आई सिंसियरली होप हम लोग उस सबको अचीव कर सकें जो वो हम लोगों से चाहते हैं. दिस विल बी द बेस्ट थिंग विच वी कैन डू फॉर आवर चिल्ड्रन. और स्टेट बोर्ड्स के अंदर आप लोग यहाँ पे आए हुए हैं और मेरी बात हो रही थी इंद्रानी जी से एंड वी वर टॉकिंग अबाउट इट. ऐसे उनको ब्लूप्रिंट तो बता दो. ब्लूप्रिंट को पता ही नहीं है उनको. क्वेश्चन पेपर सेट कर देते हैं. आपको मालूम है कि क्वेश्चन पेपर टीचर्स कैसे सेट करते हैं क्लासों में? आपको मालूम है? क्वेश्चन पेपर आप देते हैं ना स्कूलों में टीचर्स को कि बनाइए. बिकॉज आई वॉज अ प्रिंसिपल तो आई नो. वो क्लास में ही बैठ के बच्चों को राइटिंग वर्क दे दिया और आधा घंटे में क्वेश्चन पेपर बन गया. आधा घंटे में क्वेश्चन पेपर बन जाता है. क्यों बन जाता है? ब्लूप्रिंट तो उनके हाथ में है ही नहीं. अगर ब्लूप्रिंट उनके हाथ में होगा तो वो करेंगे. डिज़ाइन होगा तो उनके हाथ में वो करेंगे. अगर आपने सैम्पल दे दिया, देखना भैया ऐसे ही बनना चाहिए, तो वो करेंगे. आप बोर्ड्स को इन सब चीज़ों के ऊपर ध्यान देना पड़ेगा. आई वोंट टेक अ लॉट ऑफ टाइम ओवर हियर एंड आई विल आस्क डॉक्टर अग्रवाल टू स्पीक ऑन द फिलोसॉफिकल अप्रोच इन द एजुकेशन विच इज़ हिज फील्ड. ही टॉक्स अबाउट फिलोसफी अ लॉट.
So friends, actually Madam has already set the tone for this presentation. She has already told you what is the basic philosophy of NEP 2020. The key words, 2 years back we had that conference here, and the key words of NEP 2020, one of them is India-based education or Bharat Gyan-based education. Then inclusivity, then holistic. And the theme of that conference was this only, 2 years back, which we had done in Sikkim, which we had organized in Sikkim. Now, what is the philosophy of this? I'll make a presentation in detail now. These are 3 keywords, but in detail I will do it now. Alignment with the philosophical approach in the introduction, I've taken it out from the introduction itself. Alignment with the aspiration goals of 21st century education, including sustainable development goals. All of you must be aware of sustainable development goals of the UN. It's all started in 2015, and by 2030, is the goal that all the countries have to attain those goals by 2030. There are 17 goals, I think, and all the countries are working towards it. So our policy also talks about it. It is more concerned with the environment, environmental protection and conservation, because the environment is we have, as human beings, we have destroyed environment up till now. And we forgot that we are a part of this environment. And if the environment is destroyed, we also will perish. So it is that kind of thinking which the developmental goals, sustainable development goals are talking about. Then instilling knowledge and thought of India, of course, Bharat for developing national pride. Madam has already talked a lot about that. And we have another session where we will talk about this in more detail. Then learning how to learn. In fact, the crux of open schooling is learning how to learn. In the formal system, the teacher spoon feeds the students, and they are not able to think for themselves, they are not able to feel for themselves, they are not able to will for themselves. These are the 3 functions of the mind, but we don't teach them to do that. But open schooling learners have the freedom to learn, and learn on their own pace, and they can choose subjects according to their interest and ability, which up till now was not there in formal system. Of course, after this policy, even in the formal system, this choice of subjects will be not restricted now. It will be open, it will be flexible. So learning how to learn, as teachers, if we are able to make the students learn how to learn themselves, that is the task that we have to do. Then holistic education, of course, that is another key point in the policy. And we have been talking about holistic education for many years now in education, but we have not been able to do it. Now we have to do it. And holistic education will also mean, in the morning also somebody was saying that, livelihood. The Honorable Minister had talked about vocational education and livelihood. So education for life and education for livelihood. Education for life means you have to make them good persons, good citizens. That is what education should be geared towards. And then vocational education for livelihood. This is one way of looking at holistic education. Of course, there are many other ways. Like when we talk about holistic education, we talk about physical development, mental development, spiritual development, and things like that. But there are different ways of looking at it. Then inclusivity in education, education for all. That was in 1993, there was a conference in Jomtien, UN conference, and there they talked about this, education for all. This slogan came from there. But now that slogan has become cliched. It is very old. Now we are talking about inclusivity in education, which is more or less the same thing. So all levels of, like all classes, all groups of people have to be catered to. For example, the Divyang-jans. Our Honorable Prime Minister has given this word for the people with education, people with special needs. They are called Divyang-jans. We had that conference in UNESCO, I was mentioning it on that. Then empowering teachers to restore their high status in society. Somebody was talking in the morning, or maybe in informal discussion, our rishis were scientists. Ancient rishis were really scientists. And teachers, guru has a very high status in our society, which has been lost through the years. So that has to be restored. Envisioning an education system rooted in Indian ethos. Of course, this is from the vision. Now we have come to the vision. That was from the introduction. So this is the same thing in Indian ethos. Transforming India, that is Bharat, sustainably into an equitable and vibrant knowledge society, and thereby global knowledge superpower. In fact, Gyan, the word Gyan in Hindi is much more than knowledge in English. Knowledge is actually very superfluous. And even when we teach Bloom's taxonomy in education, we talk about knowledge as the lowest rung in the cognitive domain. In the development of cognitive domain, knowledge is the lowest rung. And then, of course, we talk about understanding and application and analysis, synthesis, evaluation. And now creativity has also been added to that. And when we talk about transforming assessment, then we are talking about going to higher levels of assessment, so assessing higher order skills. Up till now, we have been able to reach application only. Providing high quality education to all, of course, developing in the students a deep sense of respect towards fundamental duties and constitutional values, as well as bonding with one's country. Bonding with one's country, I have made it bold. That is very important. What Madam was saying, we have the Britishers, and before them the Muslims, they came and they systematically took us away from our own culture, and we forgot our ancient glory, ancient Indian wisdom. We forgot that ancient wisdom. But now, and so we stopped bonding with our country. We don't love our country. We love other people. We love other religions, other cultures. And we think our culture is nothing. So that has to come now. Instilling among the learners a deep-rooted pride in being Indian, again, in the different way they are saying it. Deep-rooted pride in being Indian, not only in thought, but also in spirit, intellect, and deeds. In 1813, the Britisher Macaulay had said the same words. He wanted education to be molded in such a manner that Indians become Britishers in spirit, intellect, and deeds. Something like that. It is not exactly the same words, but that is what he had done. And English education was introduced, and we were totally enslaved. Then supporting responsible commitment to human rights, sustainable development and living, and global well-being, thereby reflecting a truly global citizen. It is only here in India that we believe in Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, global citizen. The whole world is a family. That is the philosophy of our culture. We believe that all human beings are one family. So we are global citizens. Then there are guiding principles in the policy. From there, recognizing, identifying, and fostering the unique capabilities of each student by sensitizing teachers as well as parents to promote each student's holistic development in both academic and non-academic spheres. This policy, after me, Nidhi will talk about that, the NCF 2023. They have talked about non-academic spheres and academic spheres. They are laying stress on vocational education also. And in secondary, she will tell you later that environmental education is being made compulsory now at the secondary level. So things like that, you will speak more about that in the next presentation. According the highest priority to achieving foundational literacy and numeracy by all students by grade 3. Of course, this is the foundation. We have always talked about 3 R's. Reading, writing, arithmetic. That is the same thing. But some international tests have also proved, the results have showed that our children are lacking in this basic literacy and numeracy. So we have to, and I think a mission has already been set up for literacy and numeracy. It is called Literacy and Numeracy Mission. Then flexibility, so that learners have the ability to choose their learning trajectories. I was talking about that in open schooling system. We have flexibility and programs, and thereby choose their own paths in life according to their talents and interests. Up till now, there were streams, science stream, social science stream, or humanities and commerce stream, and we were restricted in the formal system at least. We were restricted to choose any combination. We could not take any combination. We had to take only science subjects or commerce subjects or humanities. But this is not the way that sometimes in the lectures I say, do we have a point here which is in the mind, in the brain, which is for language, a point for social science, a point for mathematics, a point for commerce? It is not like that. It is holistic. So that is another way of looking at holistic. Interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary we are talking about. So holistic education has to be there. No hard separations between arts and sciences, between curricular and extracurricular activities, between vocational and academic streams, etc., in order to eliminate harmful hierarchies among and silos between different areas of learning. It is in our mindset up till it has come that those who study science and maths are superior, which is a myth. All subjects are equal if they are taken seriously, and if they are, because every subject has its own place in the world order. In education also, of course, but even in the world order, even in society, every subject is important. And this race, that everyone wants to be engineer or doctor, now it has to change. Multidisciplinarity and a holistic education across the sciences, social sciences, arts, humanities, and sports for a multidisciplinary world in order to ensure their unity and integrity of all knowledge. This is what I was talking about. This is called the world view in philosophy. We have to reach towards the world view. We have to understand our reality, our environment as a whole. They are not compartments. Environment is not divided into compartments. Environment is a whole. And so we are talking about multidisciplinarity and interdisciplinarity and holistic education. And now the policy is talking about integration, sports integration, arts integration in the curriculum. There will be more about it in the next. Emphasis on conceptual understanding rather than rote learning and learning for exams. In the keynote address also this point had come, that we have to move towards, and I was saying, thinking for yourself, feeling for yourself, and willing for yourself. That we don't teach thinking We just feed them. I remember when we were studying in Department of Education, Delhi University, where I taught also later. One of our teachers used to say, there is a jagmag theory. You know, it is believed that the teacher has a jug which is full over here, and the student has a mug which is empty, and the teacher has to pour into it. So rote learning. You know, nothing to understand. You don't understand anything, you just commit it to memory. So that has to go. Emphasis on conceptual understanding rather than rote learning. Creativity and critical thinking to encourage logical decision making and innovation. Of course, we have been talking about this earlier, and now it is emphasized more. Ethics and human and constitutional values like empathy, respect for others, cleanliness, courtesy, of course, value education we have been talking about for so long. Now these values have to be integrated into all subjects. Value education as a separate subject also can be thought of, but it has to be integrated into all subjects. Then promoting multilingualism and the power of language in teaching and learning. So we are talking about, you know, our languages have to be revived and have to be preserved. And language is the tool for communication, is the tool for understanding, for comprehension. So languages are very important. We can't neglect them. And you will be told in the next presentation that NCF 2023 has made 3 languages compulsory at secondary level and 2 languages compulsory at senior secondary level. Up till now in CBSE and NIOS and other boards, there was only minimum 1 language they could take and maximum 2 languages. But now 2 languages for sure, compulsory in senior secondary and 3 in secondary. Life skills such as communication, cooperation, teamwork, and resilience. So we have been talking about life skills for a long time, so they are important. Focus on regular formative assessment for learning rather than the summative assessment that encourages today's coaching culture. Actually, that CCE was introduced by CBSE some years back. That is what formative assessment is, the same thing more or less. But it was done without planning, without making the teachers aware about it, and too much paperwork was there. That's why it failed. But formative assessment has to be there. Just one exam at the end of 1 year or at the end of 2 years is not the way to assess. Like earlier when I was a student, we had higher secondary 3 years. 3 years course used to be tested at the end of 11th class, 9th, 10th and 11th. 3 years course. Then came 10+2, then 2 years course was tested. And then they segregated 11th and 12th and 10th and 9th and 10th, and 1 year course is being tested. Even now it is like that. And now they are talking about semester system also. If there is so much curriculum load, then there will be rote learning, nothing more than that. So that has to be done. And it is the board's responsibility to do it. Full equity and inclusion in the cornerstone of all educational decisions to ensure that all students are able to thrive in the education system. So equity and inclusivity, we have already talked about. Extensive use of technology in teaching and learning. This is also coming up now in a very big way. And use of technology. And during COVID period, we made use of it, good use of it. Before that, teachers were not aware of technology at all. But now our teachers know technology. And it has to be used in an efficient and efficacious way. Respect for diversity and respect for the local context in all curriculum, pedagogy, and policy. So this is also important. We have Upadhyay ji sir has talked about this at length, that he introduced the local in the stories and the local aspects he introduced in textbooks. This is in tune with NEP 2020. And he had done it before the NEP in 2020 came into being. Then synergy in curriculum across all levels of education, from early childhood care and education to school education to higher education. Of course, it has to be, it is a continuum. But one thing we forgot, even this policy is silent about it, that for majority of students, senior secondary is a terminal stage. Earlier it used to be secondary. Now it is senior secondary. And we try to cater to students who have to go for higher education, which is, they are the elite. The masses, they are neglected. The masses will not go into higher education. And that's why vocational education is being stressed. Indirectly, NEP is talking about it. That is why vocational education has to come in a big way. Because they have to be prepared for livelihood after senior secondary only. And in fact, even in countries like USA, after senior secondary, they start working, boys and girls. They don't go for higher education, not many of them. Teachers and faculty is the heart of the learning process. Their recruitment, continuous professional development, positive working environments, and service conditions, of course. Teachers' glory has to be restored. Teachers' respect has to be restored. We have stopped respecting our teachers, and that is why, as Madam said, their rate is down in the marriage market, teachers, because we don't think that teaching profession is important, teaching profession. And this is not only in our country. Everywhere it has become like that, except in some countries, some very advanced countries like USA, teachers are respected. And some other countries also, but most of the places, teachers are treated as, low down. Light but tight regulatory framework to ensure integrity, transparency. This is, of course, the boards have to, when they go for, the schools have to be affiliated to boards. For that they are talking about regulatory framework, which should be light but tight. And ensure integrity, transparency. And of course, autonomy has to be given to the institutions, but they have to be regulated also. It's not that they should be, laissez-faire is a term which comes to my mind. Free for all. No, they can do anything they like. It's not like that. But too much restriction is also bad. They say that all extremes are bad. And of course, they are talking about outstanding research as a co-requisite for outstanding education and development. Continuous review of progress based on sustained research and regular assessment by educational experts. Of course, NCERT does that, SCERT does that in states, so that has to be done. Our rootedness and pride in India, again it has come, and its rich, diverse, ancient and modern culture and knowledge systems and traditions. Then education is a public service. Somebody had mentioned it, that education is a public service. Access to quality education must be considered a basic right of every child. And now it has to be till 12th. Right to Education Act was till from 6 to 14 years of age, till 8th class. Now, NCERT has already started working on this. They are reviewing or modifying the RTE Act. The keynote speaker of today had told me, yesterday over the phone, that this is being done. Then substantial investment in a strong, vibrant public education system, as well as the encouragement and facilitation of true philanthropic private and community participation. Now let us take a look at the provisions in the policy with regard to school education. Structure of school education has changed. Somebody talked about 5+, Professor K.M. Gupta was talking about, the structure has from 10+2, it has changed to 5+3 +4 +4. It has changed. Early childhood care and education, foundational literacy and numeracy, this is being stressed in school education. curtailing dropouts and ensuring universal access to education at all levels. We have a session on this, role of open school education boards in this. Then curriculum and pedagogy in schools. This session is on that actually. Then learning should be holistic, integrated, enjoyable and engaging. That is what this session is also talking about. Language issues, yes, language is important, and not only, in fact, up till now what has happened, especially in the north, we only read English and Hindi. I know only 2 languages. But if the 3-language formula had been implemented in the right spirit, I would have known at least 3 languages, but it did not happen. I know only 2 languages, English and Hindi. Then curricular integration of essential subjects, skills and capacities. So we have talked about sports integration, arts integration, and all those things. Transforming assessment for student development, the keynote address was on that. So this is the essence of the philosophy of NEP 2020 that I have taken out from the policy, from the introduction, from the vision, and from the guiding principles. And of course, with regard to school education, there are some chapters on school education I have taken out from there. So this is the philosophy behind the NEP 2020. If we are able to understand this much and then think about how to implement it, then we will do our job. And the education boards have a role to play in that. All right, thank you.